Okay, excellent. Okay, for the purpose of public disclosure, recorded documentation by the way of formal call to order, the following statement should be spoken aloud to chair of the meeting. I read the wrong thing. Okay, the meeting is now called to order. Recording may begin right now. It's at 7:06. Meeting of the Economic Development and Employment Committee of the Brooklyn Community Board 2 is called to order and is being recorded for public access and archiving in accordance with the New York State open meeting laws. It is the practice of CB2 to conduct remote meetings with all committee members' cameras on. Public attendees are also encouraged to leave their cameras on, particularly if you're given the floor to speak. All attendees, please keep your microphone muted when you're not speaking. To maintain appropriate discussion and voting process, I will make it known when and which topics are open for comment by committee members, then by board members at large, and then the general public. If you have questions that fall outside of public comment time, please type your questions in the chat panel and we will address them as time permits. You may also, we may also email the district office at any time outside of these meetings. We are committed to providing access to all of our neighbors, regardless of physical ability or limitation. If you require accommodation or assistance for full participation, please contact the district office 72 hours before any public meeting. The committee secretary will now conduct roll call. Okay, members should speak their names with the camera on. Secretary?
Hey, everybody. Good to see you. Chair Bill Flanoy.
Present.
Vice Chair Denise Peterson.
Hello.
Hi. Catherine Gelman, Secretary. That's myself. Latrell Masso. Oleg Geyser. I see you, Oleg. Lindsay Einhorn. I see you, Lindsay. Kate Yearwood Young. I see you, Kate. Jessica Prejke. I see you. Ronald Cohen. I see you there. Clenita Medley. Celeste Staton. Maisha Morales. Hi, Maisha. And then we have Taya, and we are here.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Okay. Let's see now. May I have an approval of the agenda? Approval of the agenda, please. Someone raise their hands.
Motion to approve.
Okay. Ms. Gilman and Mr. Cohen. Okay. I guess all in favor. If there's anyone who's abstained, please let me know. Abstentions. Perfect. Okay. See now. The presentation we're going to do first is the New York Department of Small Business Services. Eric Parker is the Business Outreach Liaison. Eric, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening. Do you want to give me presenter privileges so I can share my screen? Okay. Just taking a second. I'm sorry, wrong screen. Hold on.
No problem, Eric. Take your time.
Okay. Are you still seeing my screen right now?
No, we're not.
You're not. Okay, hold on a second. Let's try it again. That's why we practice, right? Okay.
It's perfect.
Okay.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, hello. Welcome. Meeting started.
Okay, how about now?
It's loading right now. Okay, we have it. You need to
You have it?
expand. Yeah, we have
Okay,
it.
full screen. Let's see. Here we go. How about now?
Not yet. Now we got it.
You got it? Great. All right, good
All right.
evening, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me this evening, CB2 Brooklyn. My name is Eric Parker, and I'm an outreach liaison with the Department of Small Business Services. I have a short PowerPoint deck, which is an overview of SBS services pre-COVID and post-COVID. After this brief presentation, I'll take any questions you may have. First, I just want to give you a brief overview of what we do at SBS, and then I'll go into the COVID-19 related assistance that we offer. First of all, we are the New York City Department of Small Business Services. We unlock economic potential by giving New Yorkers good jobs, helping businesses thrive, as well as neighborhoods. And we do that through a number of programs. There are three divisions: the Division of Business Services, which I belong to, the Neighborhood Development Division, as well as the Workforce One Division. SBS has a number of services that help small businesses, entrepreneurs, and businesses start, operate, and grow in the city of New York. We do that by, first of all, offering free online business courses to entrepreneurs that want to start a business. We offer free pro bono legal assistance for individuals who want to get legal advice on how to register their business and exactly how to register their small business, as well as signing a commercial lease. We have a team of folks that will help an individual navigate government. You know, that regulatory process can become sometimes very daunting for a small entrepreneur. We have teams that help them navigate through that process as well. We also provide recruitment services as well. So if an individual or a small business is looking to hire skilled staff, we have our Workforce One centers that provide skilled staff as well. There are also incentives for small businesses that open in and around the city of New York. If you are hiring employees, renovating a commercial space, or signing a lease, you as a small business may be eligible for those incentives. We also have what's called the MWBE program, which is the Minority and Women Business Enterprise Program. We provide contract opportunities to women and minority businesses throughout the 5 boroughs. Since the COVID shutdown, things have changed drastically. We have transitioned all of our services to an online platform. Just some quick links up on the screen to help you navigate to where you can find our services. If you go to the nyc.gov business tab, you can find virtually all the services and programs that SBS is currently offering to small businesses. Mind you, they're all virtual. We are taking guidance from the New York State guidelines. The New York Forward website is on this page as well for small businesses that are looking for reopening guidelines. And depending on your industry, there are different rules and regulations to reopening and following those rules. If you are looking for daily updates, you can text COVID to 692-692. As I mentioned, information is changing every day. So you want to stay up to date on these changes. As the restrictions get lifted, businesses are allowed to open, restrictions on occupancy and things like that. Texting to COVID 692-692, you can receive daily updates on those things. You can also go to the nyc.gov coronavirus webpage. That's the Department of Health's webpage with all of the guidelines to testing, tracing, screening, health screenings, and all of the requirements that small businesses must follow in order to open up safely and operate. We are currently in phase 4 of reopening. Indoor dining has just resumed with restrictions. If you want additional information, SBS has a hotline that we operate 5 days a week from 9 to 5. I'll give you the number at the end of the presentation so that folks who are looking for guidance on what their reopening guidelines are and restrictions are, they can call our hotline to get further guidance. The governor initiated the Cluster Action Initiative a few months back. Certain neighborhoods around the 5 boroughs, there were spikes in COVID cases, which meant that there were restrictions on businesses as well as social gatherings. As of today, there are only yellow zones around the 5 boroughs. We have a site tool on our website. A small business can type in an address and find out exactly where they lie within or outside of those zones. They should follow the protocols to, if they are located in a yellow zone, there are certain protocols and restrictions if you are a small business. So be sure to share this information with small businesses and notify them that if they are located in the yellow zone, there are some restrictions to opening and operating. Again, there's a concerted effort from all of the regulatory agencies to go around and inspect small businesses to ensure that they are following the guidelines that have been set forth by the state and the Department of Health. So please make sure your small businesses are following these rules and regulations. If they are unclear on some of the new guidelines, they can get assistance from our teams here at SBS, and I'll let you folks know how someone can access additional assistance and guidance to understand those guidelines. The Open Restaurants Program, which launched last year, allows restaurants to use the curb and roadbed to serve in outdoor dining. Our agency plays a key role in helping the Department of Transportation promote this program, as well as provide guidance. Any small business that wants to participate in the Open Restaurants to get all of the rules and regulations, they can fill out an affirmation form. And at some point in time, they will get an inspection by one of the regulatory agencies to ensure that they are complying with all of the rules set forth under the program. On October 31st, the Open Storefronts program launched, which allows retail and other service businesses to also use outdoors to conduct business. There are some restrictions. Some businesses may not be eligible if there are obstructions that prevent an 8-foot path or clearance for pedestrians to walk by. So if a business owner is interested in participating in the Open Storefronts program, they can certainly go to the Open Storefronts to find out more details and find out whether they are eligible to participate in the program. Other resources offered by the Department of Small Business Services, like I mentioned earlier, we have a hotline. The reopening hotline number is 888-SBS, the number 4 NYC. We're open every day 9 to 5. You can call that number to get guidance, find out new information, daily updates, any information that a small business needs to find out, they can find out through our hotline. We're also offering free face coverings while supplies last. We partnered with some of our community organizations to distribute free face coverings to small businesses. If you are a small business with less than 100 employees, you are entitled to 5 free face masks per employee while supplies last. If you go to our nyc.gov page, there's a tool that you can use to type in your address, and you'll find the nearest location or the nearest community partner who you can contact and find out how to make arrangements to get distribution of face coverings. Also on the webpage, we have a supplier directory. So if a small business wants to purchase other PPE like gloves, shields, barriers, disinfectants, all of those things are on our webpage as well. Financing assistance is also being offered. Financial assistance is also being offered to small businesses. There are a number of loan programs that have launched since the COVID shutdown. You have the SBA idle loan program, the PPP program, as well as some other additional lending streams. We have technical advisors to help small businesses. We do understand that a lot of small businesses were not savvy enough to really access some of those loans because they just needed the technical support in order to properly and successfully submit those applications. So we are providing technical support to small businesses who need assistance in that area. For small businesses that are having issues with landlords, there are many landlord-tenant issues since the COVID shutdown due to non-rent payments. We do have the Commercial Lease Assistance Program, which is sort of a program that provides free legal advice, helps tenants and landlords negotiate some fair terms, helping to keep the business in his location and preventing him from being evicted. So under the Commercial Lease Assistance Program, again, it is at no cost to the small business. They help to foster a communication and an agreement between the landlord and the tenant. I mentioned earlier about our virtual consultation services. We have a team of compliance advisors. These are former inspectors from various city agencies. They, if you are a small retail business, food service establishment or in the personal care industry, you are eligible for a free consultation, which of course is it's being administered virtually at this time. So any of the programs that a small business is interested in applying for, they can also get additional assistance and guidance through our virtual compliance consultation services. One thing I want to add, if the compliance advisor notices a non-compliant condition in a small business, they are not obligated to report that to an enforcement agency. It's very important for small businesses to understand. This is confidential. It's a confidential consultation, and they do not share this information, like I mentioned, with a regulatory agency. They're trying to help small businesses comply with city rules and regulations, thereby avoiding summonses and violations. The NYPD has notified us to notify the public to be aware of scams. There are a lot of scams going on. Businesses should take care and just be very mindful of websites that they log on to. And when sharing information, they should really be aware of that. Follow NYPD on Twitter for up-to-date details on possible new scams that are going around. And again, the NYC Business Hotline, 888-SBS, the number 4 NYC. That's 888-727-4692. Or you can send an email to our COVID inbox, which is covid19biz@sbs.nyc.gov. And that is pretty much it. That's an overview of what I have today, folks. I'll be happy to take any questions if you have any.
Mr. Parker, thank you very much. You basically tapped on everything that I saw on the website. I appreciate that. Okay, I have a couple quick questions here for you. Okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, one of the things you mentioned, you have a virtual platform, online platform. One of the things I'm starting to notice is not everyone has access to Wi-Fi or has a laptop. Is it possible for people to call into these online virtual platforms?
Yes, there is dial-in, right? For all the webinars, we host daily webinars, reopening guidelines. If you go onto our Eventbrite page, we host daily webinars on reopening, and there's also a dial-in feature as well. So if an individual doesn't have Wi-Fi or a computer, they can always dial in with their mobile device, their phone.
Okay, excellent. Now, one of the other things you mentioned is financing. What I'm looking at right now, we were searching earlier, some of my members on my committee, for financing for companies, as far as a lot of these finance or loans or grants are basically closed now. There's no more funds available. We were looking for funds to be available. What I'm looking at right now is currently on your website, I noticed grants for like Avenue NYC, Neighborhood 360 grants, and also neighborhood challenge funds, and also storefront improvement funds. Are those grants and funds still available, or are they also closed, or you're still waiting for additional funding to come in?
Those are for, I'll have to look into that. Avenue NYC grants, we grant to community organizations to provide services. They're not for individual businesses, but for community organizations. But I can certainly find out additional information on that. I know it runs in cycles as far as the awardees. If you want additional information on the Avenue NYC program or any of the other grant programs, I can certainly get back to you on when the next phase or the next applications will be, they'll be reviewed.
Yeah, we're looking at being comprehensive because we're also talking about the bids also. They're currently also maybe looking for funding also. So I was asking about that. In addition to that, you have a community-based organization, you have a jobs board, okay? Your job board, when I looked at it, there are only 2 job offerings. Do you believe that's going to pick up once the pandemic starts to subside?
Okay, so that's probably a question for someone in our workforce division. I can certainly put you in touch with someone at workforce who can probably give you more specific information, or probably a more specific answer to that.
Okay, I appreciate that, because we're also looking at the fact that once the pandemic actually subsides, people are going to start looking for jobs. And we're wondering if also that's something that you can do. When I saw that board, I was hoping that this was something that we could also have access to for the community.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what I'm going to do now is open it up to the committee. I don't want to, basically take up all the time. Any committee members have any questions? Ms. Morales.
Hi, good evening. And forgive me if you did mention this and I missed it. I know that grocery store workers, employees are eligible for the COVID vaccine. I'm wondering if either your agency or any agency across the city specifically is kind of doing the education on that, letting these grocery workers know, or sending some kind of mailing to the businesses.
I believe the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene they've taken the lead on education as far as the vaccine is concerned.
Thank you.
Okay, other committee members?
Hello,
Yes.
it's Anita Metcalf.
Latrell, you can speak. Here.
I would like to know, how does a person get a tax ID number from you guys? Do they get it from you to start their business?
So if you are starting a business and you need information on getting a tax ID number, we don't administer it, but we have folks at our NYC Business Solution Centers that can walk you through the process. Are you an entrepreneur who's looking to start a business?
No, I am a member of the board. And I just had a few questions concerning that. And during the pandemic, what are the jobs that small businesses can open from home that you guys will support as a small business? I have a person who wants to start doing tailoring clothes. Could they open up a small business in their home?
Well, unfortunately, SBS, we are not chartered to help home-based businesses. We really don't provide assistance. You have to be in a commercial space. It's unfortunate at this time, but I think as things change, but we can certainly provide guidance. If you call one of our centers, you are certainly eligible to attend any of our webinars, but we don't provide direct support to home-based businesses. We can give you some general overview, general advice on it, but we don't have programs for home-based businesses specifically, unfortunately.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because of COVID, that would be ideal.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I see things, everything has changed, right? So I think that we're going to be spending more time helping out those remote businesses and those folks who are operating from home. Yeah, definitely. It's going to have to change at some point in time.
Okay, thank you.
So what if they don't?
Well, 1 second. Okay, who is this, please, by the way? You have a telephone number. I don't know who it is.
Medley, Anita.
Thank you. I just want to make sure that I thought it was you, but we only have a telephone number,
Okay.
so our secretary can identify you as who's asking questions. Okay, so again, your question about to ask?
Yeah, so since they can't do it by home and it has to be commercial, what if can they do it by like a truck or a van? Would that be considered commercial?
You're talking about you're talking about mobile vending? Sure, absolutely.
Okay, very good.
But understand that there are some restrictions to mobile vending, so it depends. I mean, I guess if it's food or if it's merchandise, the Department of Consumer and Worker Protection, they provide mobile vending licenses, so you would have to go by their guidelines to find out specifically what kinds of practices, what kind of business you can operate out of a truck, out of a mobile unit. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I have another question for you. As far as the business outreach, okay, for the MWBE, you're also helping with citywide, city certification. How do we go about doing that?
So if you are looking to get certified as an MWBE, you can go onto the nyc.gov business. There's a web form. You can create an account on SBS Connect if you're looking to get certified as a minority or women business enterprise, get certified. Yeah, so you can go to our website and create an account on SBS Connect, and someone will get back to you and walk you through the process.
After we do that, what do we have access to funds to actually also help finance the company as far as growth?
Okay, so yes, so through our NYC Business Solution Centers, they have partnerships with over 40 micro lenders, depending on what your needs are, depending on the amount, credit, eligibility, things like that. They will put you together with a financial institution that's best suited for whatever your situation is, whatever business you want to start, or your financial situation, credit score, things like that. They'll make a determination of what the best way to go about getting that.
Okay. Also, a lot of the company, a lot of small businesses have been basically shuttered for about a year. Because they've been shuttered for a year, their finances are low. To open back up, okay, for instance, for restaurants, for any small business, we're looking at, you were mentioning they can get masks and a whole bunch of other supplies to actually open up. But if they don't have the financing to get those supplies, do you also have the ability to finance them?
Well, at this point, we are hoping that the federal government is going to step in and and provide some more stimulus funds. We're just hoping, because we know that a lot of businesses are really shut down. They've been shut down for a period of time. We can help to a certain degree, but if they're totally closed and need some kind of, in a lot of cases, businesses need grants, right? In some cases, so
Right.
we're hoping the federal government's going to step in and provide that. Or if they fund us again, at the beginning of the shutdown, we had the retention grant, the business retention grant that went very quickly. We're hoping maybe the feds are going to refund some of those accounts so that we can provide more grant assistance to those shuttered businesses. But, time will tell. We're just hoping for the best.
If in fact that does happen in the near future, hopefully the legislation will pass. When those funds actually come into your coffers, how do we know when it's available and how do we access it?
Well, probably through a press release. The mayor will probably have a press release, and we're hoping that folks really move quickly on it. We've seen a few rounds of funding become available and quickly get depleted, and as usual, those in need were usually left out because they didn't move as quickly as they could have in getting the application in, getting the documentation. So, which is why we offer technical support in the area of helping businesses get financing. This time around, we're very strong in the area of providing technical support for those small mom and pop businesses that didn't have the savvy or did not have a consultant to help them file these applications in a way that they can access those funds before they were depleted.
If those funds may become available, I'm sorry, let me just finish, Catherine, and I'll give it to you. Okay, when these funds become available, let's say, for instance, can I come in now and actually start the process so that when those funds are available, I have everything set up and we can just simply, go for it?
Well, we are offering workshops through our NYC Business Solution Centers on documentation and the kinds of documentation that most lending institutions are looking for. So we're already providing that information. We're hoping businesses are listening and taking advantage of it now, so that when these monies are released again and when another round of funding becomes available, they have all the documentation ready and they're ready to submit their applications. So we're hoping that businesses are really kind of, taking our advice, using the services that we're providing for them now and that are available at this time.
Can you tell us how to go about doing that now while we're online?
I believe there is a, okay, again, you can go to the web form, SBS Connect. If you, I'm on the web page now, but if you look under financial assistance, again, if a business wants to prepare, they can talk to one of our account managers who will give them advice on when the next webinar or the next workshop will be held. So the first thing would be to go to our website, create an account on SBS Connect and request financing assistance. After they talk with someone, even if there's a financial program that they're not ready to apply for yet, they can at least get some advice at the beginning as to, what documentation will they need and how quickly they need to move when funds do become available and the next round of funding becomes available. So they can certainly do that now.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from committee members? Okay, Lindsay. Okay, I'm sorry, Catherine. I thought Lindsay, go first.
I think Catherine was waiting. I'm sorry.
No worries. It was honestly mostly answered. I was going to say along the lines of what Bill you just said. Basically, is this Is this contact with small businesses over the last year being tracked and put into something like a listserv for those who say they want immediate notification when loan programs are available, so that it's not just a case-by-case manager basis? Basically, are you, for all the people moving through your workshops, especially the ones that are document prep related, keeping track and giving them the option to be contacted, upon announcement of loans, just to try to get people through there faster?
I would imagine that once they come into contact with our folks at our account managers, they would definitely have an ongoing relationship and communication, so that when that information does become available, there's some form of communication where they can reach out to them. I'm sure that's happening.
Okay, just hoping that it wouldn't be upon their burden to reach out to you guys, that if you've been in contact with a couple hundred different small businesses within those kind of workshops, that there might be some aggregate information that you guys could then just send out announcements so that people wouldn't have to rely on individual case managers.
Well, I'm not privileged to the inner workings of how our account managers kind of reach out to those folks they speak with, but I would imagine that there is a communication and ongoing communication to where they can reach them when information, and funds become available or programs are launched. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, Lindsay, Ms. Einhorn?
So I do have two questions if time permits, but my first question, last week or last month actually, at our general meeting, it came up about open streets, open restaurants, and open storefronts being extended to be a permanent program. And I'm wondering if you have any information about how that's going to be implemented, because the impression that we've gotten from the mayor's statements and from some press releases is that the program will be downsized. And so how are they going to ensure that it's equitably downsized and that all businesses have the opportunity to apply for that program becoming permanent?
Well, I'm not sure what you heard, but from what I understand, the open restaurants program has become permanent. Again, I'm just, what was your question again, specifically?
So I guess I'm curious if it's going to stay permanent at current levels, like how many permits are going to be issued annually? Is it going to be bigger this year just because COVID's still a thing, and then next year it'll be downsized in some way, was the sense we were getting from some of the press.
Yeah, I wouldn't be privileged to that. There's no way to tell. The mayor would have to make that determination as to, how well the program is running. There are other things to consider as well, as far as, sidewalk obstructions, traffic flow, the number of incidents that may have happened. I know there have been a couple of unfortunate collisions to, these outdoor spaces. Structures have been hit by cars, in the past. So there's a lot of things that are going to go into that are going to be considered before they decide whether to make it permanent, to downsize it. I wouldn't be privileged to that at this time. Yeah.
Okay. And my other question is about, so now with indoor dining, I'm wondering what you're hearing from small businesses that you're working with that are restaurants. I know that the cap that we had just, we're talking about discussing the cap on the food apps, so Seamless, Caviar, Grubhub, that the cap on the percentage they're able to take is going to end in May, per the legislation that City Council passed last year. And so I'm wondering if there are concerns about that, considering that they're still only able to open at a very small capacity, and how the restaurants that you're working with are doing now that indoor dining has resumed.
Well, you give me some hard questions here. Okay, I wouldn't be sure. I'm not sure about that. I wasn't privileged to that information. I didn't hear about that issue, but I can certainly get back to you on that.
Okay, thank you, Lindsay. Ms. Yearwood Young?
Thanks. Sorry, can you guys hear me? You can? Okay. I've been having headphone problems all day. One thing I don't think I heard you mention, but apologies if you did, is that right now, starting about a week ago, the PPP funds from the federal government are only open to small businesses with 20 or fewer employees, and also even to like self-employed individuals and sole proprietors. Which sounds to me like a really great opportunity, because right now none of the larger businesses can apply. making sure funds are available for small business, like really small businesses. So just curious whether you guys are doing any targeted outreach or coordinating, similar to Catherine's question, going through your list of people who've perhaps not been able to take advantage in the past and just making sure that they're aware of this opportunity.
Yes, as an outreach team member, we work diligently to reach out to those communities, those LMI communities, and make sure that they're aware of these programs. And we are constantly reaching out to businesses. In fact, we have been out on the ground in the past a few times over the last month and a half. We were in Chinatown about 3 weeks ago with our mobile unit, which is a mobile RV that we brought to the Chinatown area. We did door-to-door outreach because there have been some issues with folks in the Chinatown area getting access to some of the programs. So, I mean, there have been occasions where we have actually been on the ground and have done door-to-door. We were up on Southern Boulevard in the Bronx, reaching out to businesses as well to talk about some of the programs that we have launched and available to them. So we are actively trying to reach those smaller businesses, the small mom and pop businesses, through working through our elected officials as well, doing the best we can to get the word out to small mom and pop businesses about the services that are available to them.
Thanks. Yeah, that's great to hear that you guys have been on the ground. Are you also working with the bids to some extent on that outreach?
From time to time, we work with the bids. Yes, we do.
Great, thanks.
We just did a webinar with the Third Avenue bid last week.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Gilman, you had your hand up.
I was wondering if there's been any thought working with other departments on things like licensing, automatic renewals, or some of the steps that businesses, especially restaurants and small businesses, have to take to stay eligible in this climate, and steps the city can make either as kind of an education initiative or as an actual measure to try to make those things automated. So to say that, these licenses won't lapse in the way that we usually go about it, given the COVID kind of climate.
Well, since the shutdown, we've held at least 6 different interagency webinars where we bring our partner agencies on board, the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, Department of Consumer and Worker Protection. We've had Department of State Licensing on board with us. We've had a number of different licensing agencies on board to provide guidance to small businesses. I think the DCWP has done a good job in extending some of those existing licenses that expired during the shutdown. And in fact, there's information on their homepages about businesses if a license had expired, it was extended, and they are making it easy, from my understanding, for businesses to get renewed licenses actually online without having to go to the offices themselves. So we've been really actively educating small businesses with our interagency webinars. We did one last week with the Human Rights Commission and the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs. We're trying to make inroads into the immigrant populations, which is not easy, you can imagine. They mostly stay under the radar, but we still diligently try to reach those communities to make sure that they're getting the services they need.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other committee members have any questions? Any board members have any questions? Okay, I'm going to also offer an opportunity for the public to actually ask any questions if they wish to. Okay, hearing none. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Parker. I appreciate all the input that you gave us and the information. Is it possible for us to reach out to you later on as things develop?
Absolutely, absolutely. And if you want to compile some of the questions that if you didn't get clarity in any of the questions you asked, please compile them in an email and send them to me, and I'll get back to you with some more specific answers on some of the topics you mentioned earlier.
Oh, by all means, there's a lot of information for us to digest, and I'm sure people will still have some questions later on once they start looking at the actual website. So thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, have a good day. If you wish to, you can stay for the rest of the meeting. We're not going to chase you off, but you may have other things you have to do, but we're just going to continue with the day-to-day agenda.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have dinner now, but thank you all. I'll be in touch, okay?
Okay.
Bye-bye now.
Thank you. Bye now, sir. Okay, one of the things I forgot to do is I forgot to get approval of the February minutes. Did everyone get a chance to read the minutes? They were wonderfully done. Ms. Gilman, you always do an awesome job. Thank you very much. Any corrections? Okay. Then we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. Okay, the FY22 response to the SDNBR. Hopefully you all had a chance to take a look at it. I know I took a look at it. I'm not going to address all the items on here. I'm just going to address the items that have to deal with the community board, with the Economic Development and Employment Committee. And by the way, just to let you all know, we had discussion earlier today, earlier before the meeting started. In May, the City Council holds public hearings on the executive budget. At these hearings, community boards and community groups and interested citizens may comment on the budget decisions contained in this register. Okay, so we have until May to make comments on the things I'm going to discuss right now. If anyone's interested, I will be more than happy to take any input that we have on these items. And I'm going to go through the items right now that we actually have submitted, okay, for attention. As far as the capital budget is concerned, we really didn't have any items for capital budget. Okay, most of our items are for other issues, but we did have for the capital budget, item 17. Item 17 was a request to build or expand incubator or affordable work or research lab spaces. Okay, the explanation behind this was the program would provide an affordable workspace option for new and experienced business owners. Incubators allow small businesses to share resources as well as ideas and foster innovation and creativity. The program will also support businesses who need to restructure due to impacts from COVID-19. The agency response was the agency will try to accommodate this issue within existing resources. When resources come in, we need to make sure that they understand that this is a priority for this district. So I would definitely say in May, we need to comment about this. In addition, item 19, request to build or expand incubator or affordable worker research lab spaces. Again, the explanation is specialized incubators to support different sectors as well as different communities of business owners, support recovery and encourage new startups by creating a space for shared resources and ideas. These spaces would be an accelerator for small businesses to share resources in space, foster connections with their local business owners, and access technical assistance and provide a hub for resources and guidance. The agency response for this was, the agency will try to accommodate the issue within existing resources. One of the biggest problems we're going to have is resources, okay? Right now, there's a shortfall for the city as far as funding. Until we receive funding from the federal government, okay, this is going to be issues. I want to make sure that when funding does come in, that these are priorities that they know to look out for. Okay, after that, capital budget, we go to the expense budget. In the expense budget, we have quite a few items, so I will go over those items right now. Okay. On page 10, item 1. Okay. This is something that we are looking at also, provide and expand occupational skill training programs. One of the things that we need to do is not everyone's a small business, obviously. You have individuals who are unemployed or looking for new skill sets. This is something that we can work with. The explanation offer former incarcerated individuals and ongoing support necessary to build career capital and financial stability. Work with adolescents and adults to provide job readiness training, transitional employment, job coaching and placement, and retention services. The agency will accommodate this issue within existing resources. This is something that we're going to see over and over again. Number 2, request other expense budget requests of the OMCJ. Explanation, support programs to provide educational community building and economic opportunities for teens and young adults, increase economic opportunities, redirect funding to educational opportunities, internships, job technical skill training, health and mental health, and social services initiatives. Okay, this project was funded in a prior fiscal year, and the final design contract has been met. I believe that we should continue to outreach on this to make sure that this is taken care of. Okay, page 11, item 4. I'm sorry I'm going through this, but I want to make sure everyone may not have this in front of them. We do have it in front of them, but I'm just going to read it off for those individuals who aren't present. Item 4, provide or expand access to capital. Explanation. Small businesses are the core of a healthy local urban economy. They generate substantial economic benefits, employ local residents, and are vital to the community health. They are also the most vulnerable businesses in times of crisis. Short and long-term recovery from COVID-19 for small businesses in this district will remain difficult without additional funding for support recovery. Again, approval of the request depends on sufficient funds and federal and state funding. Okay, these are items that we're going to see over and over again. A lot of these things are dependent on funding. I want to make sure, once again, I'm going to repeat this, that they know that we want this to be a priority for this district. And I want to make sure that we make comments on this for May, so that when they do hear from us, they hear from Community Board 2 that this is a priority for us. We have them highly ranked, and this is something we need for recovery. Without this, we may not see a strong, robust recovery. Okay. Let's see. Nothing on 13. Nothing on 14. On page 15, item 19, provide commercial lease support for business owners. I don't have to say this is obvious. After being shut down for a year, a lot of these individuals are going to need this support. Explanation. In commercial space is a voucher program to help maintain small businesses in their existing commercial spaces or incentivize a new MWBE into a vacant commercial space which supports small businesses hit by COVID-19. The agency response is this project was funded in a prior fiscal year and the scope is now underway. Again, I want to continue, okay, emphasizing that this is something that's needed. I want to be on top of this, make sure that this actually continues through. On page 16, we have 3 items, item 21, 22, and 23. Item 21 is provide and expand occupational skill training programs. The explanation is multiple studies and reports indicate that the largest barrier to equity in employment is technology and computer training and access. This program will train for the future economy and aim to improve job quality and prospects for short and long term. The agency will accommodate the issue within existing resources. Okay, item 22, provide or expand occupational skill training programs. I'm not going to read this. We'll continue. You can read the details later, but basically I'm just going right to the details. The request includes more than one proposal. Funding for part is recommended. This item has to be split up so that each of the individual items can be funded separately. Number 23, request support immigrant MWBE and veteran-owned businesses. The agency response was the agency will accommodate this issue within existing resources. This is a common theme throughout, and that is it on that. Any questions, comments from the committee? Ms. Yearwood?
Thank you. So one something I just wanted to bring up ahead of what you're discussing about comments in May is that I believe it was 2 or 3, maybe even a few months ago, we talked about reaching out to different community organizations or other stakeholders to help support and amplify our budget requests. And I just sort of wanted to bring that up again. And is that something that we still want to do? Like, how do we want to deliver? How do we want them to, like, I spoke with, for instance, like Brooklyn Workforce Innovations about some of the, those budget items that are relevant to workforce development. And the question is like, what's our ask exactly from them in supporting or helping, or should they submit a comment separately? I just kind of want to bring that up again.
Not a problem. As a matter of fact, what I'm looking to do is in May, after we look at all the information from the bids coming up next month, at that point in time, I want to get together and decide as a committee what we think the ask should be for all the different agencies. And then once we understand that, then we figure out what the outreach is going to be.
Yeah, I'm just like, I'm a little worried that like if we don't start reaching out to organizations now and we need to comment by May, that like they're not going to be able to sort of submit, if we need them to like submit a statement, for instance. Like I would want to give them some lead time, you know, like I would want to be talking to them now to say, hey, by our May meeting or something, we need feedback from you, or we need a letter of support from you. Or maybe I'm thinking of it the wrong way, but I just wonder if we start talking to them in May, like won't the comment period be over?
The initial comment period, I believe, begins in May, but after that, I believe they don't make a final decision until September. Is that correct, Taya? Okay.
Okay, so we have time, like post-May, to get the support before,
Yes, I
like the
believe so.
comment period will end. Okay.
The comment period for this will end in May, and that'll be our jump off from that, then to reach out to the electeds. When we actually go to the agencies and tell them what we think is important, then we can go to the electeds after that.
Oh, no, sorry. I'm not talking about going to electeds. I was talking about a conversation that we'd had previously about getting like community organizations and people who are, is anyone else remembering this, or am I, you know, like
Yes.
to sort of help support our comments, like, and maybe give more specific sort of information on where the needs are. So I just, maybe I'm not, or at least I'll say it this way. I'm not clear on when that should occur and what we should be asking from them.
You're absolutely right, Ms. Yearwood. I left that out. I'm sorry. And also outreach to them too. In May, starting in May. Yes, Lindsay.
So I think there are two places where we had talked about doing outreach to local nonprofits and groups as well. One was to solicit additional ideas for capital expenses and small expenses. And so I think there are two different conversations that might have been confused a little bit, but I think that both of them, that you're right, Kate, that they take time. And so if we start doing outreach in May, we have May and June, and then we do summer hiatus. And so I am wondering if maybe we could do maybe April at least, just so that like we talk about what we want to do in terms of outreach and actually conduct the outreach in May, so that we give people a month to get things back to us before we don't meet again for the summer. And then maybe, I know that I'm a broken record and I've been saying this is probably the third year in a row now, but I think we keep getting better and better at this every year. But I think I'm still a little embarrassed that like there are like duplicates in there, and there, you know, are things that are not great English in there, and there are things that maybe other people in the community would not place as the highest priority for capital expenses. And so I'm wondering if the committees need to get together and really talk about the process for this and what we want the process to be for next year. Because I don't think it's our committee alone. I think it's every committee is not, we don't have a great process. And it's not about each individual committee, it's about doing this as a community, and making sure that the community's needs are represented. And so I'm hoping that we can prioritize that for the next year. I know that this year is especially difficult, and because of the lack of funds, and if we perhaps treated it as a really strong building year, we might get further next year in making sure that our needs are met, because I think they've already discounted more than 50% of the requests that we've made, saying that they were either inappropriate, that they needed to be deconflicted, and that there were multiple requests in one, that they're already currently funded. But I think we haven't quite hit the sweet spot in figuring out the language and in terms of how to make these requests and get them through. And so, yeah.
Well, Ms. Einhorn, our committee did quite well. Okay. As far as the other committees are concerned, they may have done that, and we may want to reach out to them or, as you said before, sit down and have a discussion, because as you said, some of these were for instance, we only have one item that was considered two different items. Other than that, the only other thing that was upsetting was the fact that there wasn't funding. That's across the board. There's nothing we can do about that. We can only make the ask and hope that the funding comes in. But for the most part, this committee did very well with actually the presentation and also with how we actually did as far as ranking and as far as response. So I'm actually quite content with that. But you're right, we should reach out later on this year, another time to actually start going forward for next year. So I agree with you, and perhaps you and I can actually talk about this offline. I don't see a head shake. Is that a yes? Okay, thank you. Okay, with that, is there any other questions? Anyone discussion about this? Okay, what's going to happen is this. I want to get together with with Catherine, and is there anyone else that want to sit down and actually put together this response? Okay, Catherine, it's just going to be you and me.
I'm sorry, Bill, I didn't hear what you asked. It kind of broke up a little bit.
Oh, I'm looking for a response to the budget requests, okay, the budget register. Okay, I want to put together a response that we're going to give for May.
So you're talking about writing something up for the public comment period?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so Ms. Gomez, still you and me. Okay, so we'll get together afterwards and we'll talk about this, okay?
Bill, I mean, I
Thank you.
can help with that if you need some help.
Yes, Lizzie, I was hoping, I kept staring at your box.
I know. Sometimes I just wait to see if someone else will volunteer first, and then full disclosure.
Yeah, I know, that's why I kept staring at you, because I knew no one else was going to jump in. Okay, I was going to ask Jessica, but you know. Okay, I'm sorry. We'll start joking around.
I didn't start staring at my box, so I didn't volunteer.
Oh, that's what I had to do. Okay, fair enough. We have another item here, so we'll go after that one. Okay, now for I'm going to jump because I want to get to this because it's important. Planning together. Okay, that's an item that's come up. This is in regards to the 10-year plan. Okay, that has been put out there. This is what I'm looking at right now is this. This is INT 2186-2020 Plan Together. This is a local law to amend the New York City Charter in relation to requiring a comprehensive long-term plan. Okay, I just want to look at this. I actually sat in on one of the meetings for this, the council members had. It lasted hours. I think it lasted, what, 5 hours, Taya? What was it, 5 hours? Okay, and what they're looking to do here with this plan is, and I looked at these items. Item 1, I don't believe actually is something that we need to look at, which is a strategic policy for achieving citywide goals. I think that's a massive undertaking. And I think as a committee, as a CB2, that's something I don't think we should even take a look at. Number 2 is to analyze of the zoning resolution and recommended changes. Number 3 is district level targets to distribute growth, infrastructure, amenities, and services equitably. Number 4 is community district land use scenarios. And number 5 is community district budget needs. Council adoption of the plan and extension outreach would be required. For some of the older members of Community Board 2, we have been upset ever since the 2008 upzoning. A lot of things were not taken into account with the upzoning. Those things have to be transportation, education, okay? Those are items, for instance, also subway stations cannot accommodate the additional traffic. I think what we should do is address these items. And my feeling is, and this is my personal feeling, this is not necessarily the committee's feeling or the board's feeling, My feeling is if we're going to look at a long-term planning, what I believe we should do is this. Currently, right now, we don't have enough schools. Okay. Currently, right now, we don't have transportation is pretty much a problem, and also affordable housing is a problem. What I think we should do is, and this is just my opinion, but what was mentioned in the meeting was that we should plan for long-term development. My feeling is they're looking at it the wrong way. We should look at what we currently can accommodate within the district now. As far as schools, how many seats are available, okay? What the subway can handle. I believe we should start from that point of view and then basically say, okay, we can accommodate this many students, we can accommodate this many people for transportation, we can accommodate this much for infrastructure. And that's the limit until schools are built to accommodate additional growth. I think that's the approach we should take, not basically say, okay, we have this much development that's ongoing, now we need to figure out how to build schools to accommodate the influx of new residents. And I think that's the wrong way to look at things. I think we should look at it the other way. Okay, now I see here we have these, the true false scenarios. Did anyone have a chance to read this?
I read the original report. What are you saying with this? The slide?
Yeah, well, yeah, in general.
Okay.
The slide presentation, as far as I was concerned, on this, what's true is Intro 2186-2020 requires the city to provide community boards and the public with new resources, data, and analysis to support proactively community-based planning. I believe strongly in that one item, okay, because we do need funding. We do need to have a planning within this committee, or sorry, within the community and within the board for future growth. Right now, whenever we do an EIS, it's basically within 100 feet of that building that's going up. It's not comprehensive of the entire district. And we need a comprehensive plan for the district. Okay, because otherwise, whenever they do anything here, it's limited to this one area and not the total effect of all the construction that's going on within the district. Anyone have any input on that?
So I have a lot of friends that work with city. I'm sorry, is it okay to just talk, Bill?
Yes, that's what I'm waiting for. Yes, please.
Okay. So I have a lot of friends that work at city planning, and the concerns that city planning, by and far, they're saying is that they're concerned about this new steering committee that this creates, and that it's taking power away from city planning to have their voices heard. And so I think it's an interesting hit against the plan, right? That the promise of the plan, they totally accept, and I think it's great too, is that you don't have a comprehensive planning cycle in the city, that it's a fragmented approach, right? And that's incredibly difficult in a city that has such complex needs. And so I think that nobody is really disagreeing with that in terms of people who are against this plan. But what they are saying is that the elected mayor would have less power over the planning process and to set planning priorities in this new planning cycle. And because one of the reasons that is because it's creating a planning steering committee. And so those steering committee members are not elected officials and would not be beholden to the public in the way that our elected officials would be. And so I think that's one of the concerns that I had. I also don't wanted to know more details about how things like the district statement of needs would be weighed and used to take input into the master plan. Because I think that some of the people and things that are within that planning cycle hold more power intrinsically in that their power is consolidated, whereas community board power is very decentralized and very fragmented in and of itself. And so making sure that our voices are heard in that process, unless it's like formally articulated how that would be done, I would be concerned about that. and would want to make sure that our voices are heard as community board members and weighted highly in that process.
I agree. I agree with you, Lindsay. One of the things I have a problem with is the timeline itself. That timeline is stretched out, okay, before any action actually starts to begin. We're looking at maybe 2.5 years before anything starts to actually become, any planning actually goes into action. And I feel that's a problem also, because first you have to you have to actually put the steering committee together, and then you have to have other inputs. I feel, here it is right here, year one. Okay, year one, we're looking at appointment of the long-term planning steering committee. And then in September, the community board statement of district needs. Then year two, condition of the city report. Then April, you have the prelim citywide goal statements. Then in July, the final citywide goal statements. Then in April, year three, you have a draft, a long-term plan. We don't see a long-term plan until year three. Okay, so by this time, anything that we were talking about in year one has changed. Okay, September, committee board statements of needs. Okay, November, draft 10-year capital strategy. Again, my problem is the fact that year over year, things change. For instance, right now, the BQE, we're still waiting for that. And that was a 10-year plan, and we still haven't had one thing done. We don't even have an idea what the project's going to be. So I feel that that's an example of what a 10-year plan actually did not occur. But we needed to have this done with the BQE, and it still hasn't been done. And we still only have a design for the new BQE, let alone breaking ground. And we're running out of time to actually do something about that. So my feeling, go on, who actually was about to say something?
So I think that the reason for that is because it literally doesn't try, so it doesn't try to take, it tries to take all of the fragments that have buy-in to the planning process, and everybody has to submit their own 10-year plan. And then all of the 10-year plans have to be combined to create one plan. And so when you think about how long that would take, and that's why it's not trying to disenfranchise any current partner that's currently involved in the process and try to give them all of these opportunities. But that's an incredibly difficult thing to accomplish, to have all of these different groups create their own 10-year proposal. It's going to create 200 different plans, and then they have to create some sort of approach to integrate those different plans and prioritize them. That's a pretty lofty effort. And I think that's why city planning is against it, is because how do you do that? How do you take 200 plans to make one plan? I mean, it's I don't think anyone has any problems with the values that are in this report or in the legislation, but the actual operationalizing of it seems pretty impossible, especially without a massive funding to go behind it. And everyone's concerned about that as well.
Thank you, Lindsay. You're very succinct. Yes, that is the issue. Okay, I believe in this. I think we need it, but it's going to be a heavy lift, a very heavy lift. And I don't think, also over time, over 10 years, people are going to come, they're going to go, ideas are going to change. I like to believe, I believe in the concept, I believe in the need, but the actual making this work is not going to happen. I don't see that happening. I'm sorry to say that. Okay. So as a committee, what we might want to do, and this is up to the committee, if there's anyone else who wants to make any comments or discussion about this, I would entertain a motion of either support or not supporting this plan to go to the board.
I mean, I personally feel like I would need a lot more information and thought before making any type of recommendation. Personally, just it is a lot of information. It's I mean, I'm curious, do other cities do this successfully? What, how granular is it in the sense of yes, things are always changing, but it doesn't seem like it prevents people from doing some type of spot zoning or one-off things. It's just more like, let's agree on what priorities are over the next 10 years. Like, I don't think that's a bad thing, but anyway, yeah, long story short, I don't feel prepared to make any type of recommendation based on today,
Okay,
personally.
I understand. Okay. What about others? How do they feel about this? Do we need more time to discuss this? Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Okay, that was succinct. Anyone else?
Yes, I agree. I totally agree with that.
Mhm.
I like for stuff to be really kind of looked at and thought out.
Mhm. Well, we
So
still have
yes.
time. Yes, we still have time. It's still moving through legislation. There's nothing that actually been decided yet. So we do have time, but I wanted to bring this up for discussion right now to make people aware of this. And when you have time, go through the details yourself. Okay, so we can bring this up for discussion later on. Yes, Ms. Ihorn, I see you want to say something.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we can, I'm sorry, there's a little bit of an echo if someone mutes themselves. So I think I definitely agree that everyone should take the time to educate themselves on the plan as well as whatever context they feel is necessary. I'm just wondering if we should set a timeline this time for when we're going to do that, because I think this is the third meeting that we've brought this up for discussion, and I just want to make sure we see movement on it before there is a vote. And so I just want to be very clear that there is currently no date for a vote on this piece of legislation, but it will be brought up for vote likely. I think there are at least 4 other community boards that I know of that have already voted on this. And so like there are community boards who are actively working on this. And I want to make sure that our voice is heard, whether it's for or against. And I think we want to get it in front of the general to make sure that the entire body has the opportunity to do so as well. And because it's going to impact not just our board, but the whole city, it's obviously just an incredibly important piece of legislation for us to consider. So I just wanted to maybe push us to make a timeline for when we feel comfortable making that recommendation instead of pushing it off without that timeline.
Okay.
I'm just wondering, are we going to get a presentation on it, or like if it's really important? I'm just like, we haven't got an actual presentation on it, right? From a city agency.
No, so we asked Taya to send around links, and so she sent it around to the committee as well as to the general body. And so but there's no, so it's a
deck, but
it's a piece of legislation.
People one at a time, one at a time. Okay, and let me take the lead here. Okay, Ms. Yearwood, there's a link that basically has an outline, a summary of this. I would suggest all the committee members read that. Also, there's currently hearings that are going on. If you have the opportunity to listen on the hearings, they're long, they're tedious, but you still will get education in what the different individuals are talking about. Okay, so you get an idea, and it's easier just to listen to that than actually to read all the information. Okay, because they go back and forth with the pros and cons. Taya, I believe there's an actual listing. Did we post that also? That's a tracking link? Okay, there's a tracking link in the chat. Okay, so you can click on that and it'll give you an update on when the actual, the different times are that you can listen in on the discussion. But we're not going to get a presentation on this.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify for Ms. Yearwood that it's not possible to get a presentation because it's a piece of legislation that's been sponsored by the speaker. And so there's no agency that's responsible for this piece of legislation or that sponsored this piece of legislation that could provide a presentation at this time. I think if it were to be passed, city planning would be able to come and provide us with a presentation on how it's going to be implemented, but there's also currently no plan for implementation. It's currently just a framework that's provided. And so that's one of the concerns that people had because it's such a massive undertaking. The details are incredibly important. And so that was one of the things that's come up at the hearings and in the feedback that there are some great ideas here, but the implementation concerns are abound.
Yeah, no, which totally makes sense. I just feel like it does feel really important, and I I just like, I hate to just make some uneducated and like ill-informed vote, not like, even the people who are, I think it sounds like who are experts almost like don't quite know how to, like, I mean, maybe it ends up being something more from our perspective of like, yes, we think this is like a great goal or effort, or theoretically, it's just like, you know, in theory, but it just feels like hard to like, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's like we can opine or not, and that's, you know, it is what it is, but it just feels a little like above our pay grade in a way. But I agree with you, Kay, I saw your note. I think I agree that it'd be really nice to have maybe if land use who understands these issues a bit more in a nuanced way than maybe other committees could help the board get a little more educated in a succinct way. And I think like realistically, like I wish I could listen to multiple many-hour hearings, but I mean, personally, I won't be able to do that. So,
well, implementation is the biggest issue, and currently, right now, I reached out to Mr. Singletary earlier last week through the board office, and mentioned it might be a good idea for the committees to all take a look at this. And Mr. Singletary has asked all the different committees to actually take a look at this this month. So we'll see what happens. Okay, and Ms. Ihorn, thank you very much for making me aware of this. Ms. Morales.
I just wanted to mention that the coalition members of this plan are actual housing organizations, grassroots, that have been around 30, 40 years, that have always fought for the people. So as I'm looking at the coalition members, to be transparent, some of them I either sit on their board or I used to work for. I do know that they're good people doing great work. So I'm glad to see that. And I just wanted to share. Those organizations that are there would be more than happy to, if any of us had questions, to kind of follow up with them as well. So like Good Old Lower East Side, Southside United, all those groups are great groups doing great work, especially for Black, brown, and working class poor communities. So just wanted to share that.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think right now we can move on to the next item on the agenda. Okay, we probably discussed this, and it's actually right now 7:24, so I won't have this last too long. As far as the chairperson's report, I have nothing to report, but I will allow my vice chair to have some input here for the resource fair. You're muted.
You saw my lips moving. I said, good evening, everyone. Nice to see all of you. So I just want to quickly say that I had a conversation with Regina at the Brooklyn Navy Yard. As you hopefully remember, that the Brooklyn Navy Yard is going to be partnering with us to do this job fair that I've been pushing and working towards for quite some time now. So we were looking at June, and we can still look at June in terms of resuming where we left off, which when I look back at the folder, there's a lot that we have already discussed. However, Regina indicated that we should also consider an alternative for those who have been a part of the small group and those on this committee, an alternative to maybe doing something virtual. So in the interim, Mr. Flanoy was kind enough to give me his Zoom password and information. So I'm going to ask those who are part of that small group, Latrell, Ms. Morales, I think Catherine, I know it was Kate, but then Kate couldn't do it. I see that nice, beautiful son of hers in the background earlier, and Jessica. And so if you can email me a date and time, an evening time that works, and we can, sort of pick up and talk about what that looks like. If it has to be pushed past June, and or we could look at something virtually. And I can tell you that that would be a lot of help that would be needed for me to really for us to put that together. I certainly, just like all of you, I certainly would love the in-person because I think it's a better benefit than virtual, having, target, speak to somebody online and all of that. So let's see what happens. Let's see where the conversation goes, what people are comfortable with. And so email me, please, and let me know what your availability is. And it could even be on the weekend. If it's on the weekend, not necessarily does it have to be in the evening. And I do work and during the week, so 6 o'clock is good for me. And I look forward to hearing from you. And then we should be able to make some kind of decision or recommendation to present to everyone at this committee that's on this committee. So that's what I have to contribute as it relates to that.
Thank you, Ms. Peterson. I thought my biggest issue was COVID, and that was going to be the thing that would either restrict us from actually doing this in June. We need to have this fair. And hopefully we will be open by the beginning of June so we can actually do this toward the end of June. So that's my hopes. Okay. We have other committee business? Yes, Ms. Einhorn.
Sorry, I had a thought that I just put into the chat, but we could ask our city council members, Cuomo, Cumbo and Levin, to speak to their position on planning together at the next general meeting, so that we understand where they are, and that might help us as we seek to formulate our own opinions.
Yes, I saw that in the chat, and that's up to Mr. Chair Singletary. And I'm sure Taya will reach out to him and let him know that we had this ask. But it's not up to this committee, it's up to the chair of the full board.
Just wanted to make sure that meant it was going to Chair Singletary for a request.
Yeah. Ms. Coleman?
Yeah, just to say on the back of that, I feel like the general meeting would be such a good chance to get all the committees on the same page on this, because it's the right time for people to be thinking about it. We're probably all sending different letters or no letters, or and I think it's that same kind of point that you were talking about, Lindsay, with the statement of needs and that feeling of collective power. And then even within this community board, if we can get it at the general meeting, that'll be a lot easier than each of our committees trying to figure it out. That's all I got. That's all I got.
Anything else from any other committee members? Okay, that brings us to community forum. I see some community members in attendance. If anyone wishes to speak, I'll give you 2 minutes. Okay, seeing no response, no hands raised, or nothing in the chat, we will then close out community forum, and I'll go to item 10. Item 10 being motion to adjourn. Can I have a motion to adjourn? Ms. Yearwood, second. Okay, I'll let Ms. Morales get this one. Okay, thank you very much. This didn't go as long as I thought it was going to go. Okay, so I'm thankful for that. Thank you for all who participated. Thanks for all who showing up. I appreciate that. We got a lot accomplished. If anyone has any questions or concerns or anything else they want to mention to me, you can reach me through the board office, or you can send me to my email. I send an email to everyone, so you have my email. Okay. With that, thank you. Okay. Time to have dinner.
Good night.
Okay, and I'll take into consideration everything that everyone's mentioned and said. okay, and discuss that with the board office, okay, to see if this is something that we can look into. Okay? Okay. Ms. Gilman, I'll reach out to you a little later, and Ms. Einhorn also about the comment for May 5th.